Yeah, so very often I get clients or I get questions from people writing. They're doing pretty well, but their worry and their anxiousness has to do with going to social events where food is going to be around. So how not to worry. Their question is, how do I get past worrying about attending social events on weekends or special occasions, holidays, etc., where food is going to be around? Is it possible to stop worrying about social events in regards to food and diet? Well, yes, of course it's possible. The majority of the population doesn't even think about those things, so keep that in mind. But that doesn't mean because it's possible that it's easy. Simple isn't always easy. And it's harder, remember, to unlearn something than to learn it. So if you have anxiety around social engagements because you find it a trigger to eating or because of your obsession with food, and you don't want to attend social events, you have to learn how to look at it differently. So let's dig a little deeper here. And let's look at that diet mentality that you think solves everything doesn't address this issue at all. For instance, having the right macros in your diet, that doesn't help you with anxiety or worry about social events that have food with them. Following paleo or some other fad diet, that doesn't do anything to address a negative or unhelpful mindset around social events where food is going to be present. So you need to get out of that North American diet mentality madness, as I call it, thinking that having a diet solves things that aren't truly diet issues to begin with. These aren't nutritional issues, they're mindset issues, okay? So engaging that means looking at it from the right angle. It's not a diet issue. So it's about having a healthy relationship to your diet and realizing that how you look at food and diet is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. How you look at food and diet is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. Therefore, fearing social functions because of food is a problem of perception and perspective, and I talk about that all the time. The problem of perception and perspective. These aren't nutritional issues. You know what to eat and why to eat it, so why is there so much anxiety around social events? So when you adopt a healthier perception and perspective, then how you engage these social events, weekends, holidays, things like that, that'll change as well. So it's about getting beyond the mindset of being either on or off your diet. If you have food issues, it's not so much that you have a food or weight issue. As I always say, you don't have a food, weight, or body image issue. You have a thinking and feeling issue about food, weight, and body image and diet. And that's what you need to address, perception and perspective. So oftentimes I have clients, we address these issues through two kinds of exercises. One, desensitization exercises. Sometimes it's as simple as being around your trigger foods and trigger circumstances more and more to desensitize yourself to them. So if you're worried about social events like Christmas parties and weekend parties and things like that, because food's going to be around and you keep avoiding those things, then you're never going to be strong enough to face them. So we start with desensitization exercises, and that can be from going to social engagements to little things like meeting a friend at Starbucks for coffee and deliberately standing in front of the glass window that has the food in it and then going and having your coffee. It can be other ways. I have clients and I make them go to the grocery store when they're grocery shopping, go down the aisle that has their most trigger foods and just stand in the aisle and look at their trigger foods and be around them. And as they progress through that, maybe take some home. I do the exercise where I have clients buy, say, chocolate cake, if that's their trigger food, and put it beside some fresh broccoli and leave it out where they can see it over and over again. And then they get desensitized to having the presence of that food there. And I also get them to ask themselves in their mind, which food do they really want? And that's a trick question because oftentimes they're going to tell themselves they really want the broccoli. Well, no one really wants the broccoli. Our minds don't work that way. Hyperpalatable foods always appeal to the reward centers of our brain. So it's about being honest with yourself that yes, I really do want the chocolate cake. It's just not the soundest, wisest choice for me. So these are desensitization exercises that you can use to get yourself stronger and stronger to face the situations that you find you have anxiousness about or that you worry about. There's also cognitive exercises that we do, and I call it self-directed thought. Self-directed thought is about teaching you options instead of having that reactive mindset that kicks into worry and frenzied energy, because remember, frenzied energy produces frenzied behavior. So you don't want to be thinking with the influence of negative reactive emotion like worry and anxiety. So that helps. So there's two modes of cognitive self-directed thought that we can use, and a lot of it is about using a TV remote. Just use the analogy. For one, self-directed thought, tell yourself, turn down the volume. Expose yourself to your triggers. Go to these social events. Look at the food that's there. When the message is coming strong to you to worry, tell yourself, turn down the volume. Tell yourself, hit the mute button in your mind. You can then learn that you control the perceptions and thoughts that you engage, and you can choose to ignore or mute thoughts that don't serve you, and you can choose to turn up the volume of thoughts that do serve you. So you start looking at alternative thoughts to combat the thoughts that cause you worry, anxiety, frenzied energy, etc. So turning down the volume, turning up the volume to positive thoughts or more helpful thoughts, hitting the mute button on thoughts that cause you worry, stress, or frenzied energy. Another kind of self-directed thought is along the same vein. Tell yourself, change the channel. You go to a social event and there's food around and people are going to the buffet and whatnot, and you find yourself having those scattered thoughts, those fast thinking thoughts, spiraling thoughts, we call them, when your thoughts start to spiral in terms of being triggered by negative emotions like worry and anxiety. You tell yourself, self-direct yourself to change the channel, and you think about more positive things and positive engagement. Also, self-directed thought is about reminding yourself constantly why you're at these social events. It's about the people. It's about the event. It's not about the food. For everyone else, it's about the people and about the event. So by doing the self-directed thought, you get yourself out of thinking that you're a victim to reactive mindsets and you're a victim to negative emotional impulse. So you have to desensitize yourself to your specific triggers, food, and the scenario and circumstance itself. And you can do so with self-directed thought and desensitization exercises that will help you eventually get stronger and stronger to be around food and not have it have any emotional power over you, because it really doesn't. Your perception and perspective about it tells you that it does, and that's been a lie you've been telling yourself for a long time. So again, can you be around social events and not be obsessed about food and diet and breaking food and breaking your diet and things like that? Yes, of course you can, but it takes time and it requires doing specific exercises to get there. So that's one way. You have to face the situation, but you have to face it gradually and desensitize yourself to the triggers and the circumstances surrounding those triggers a little bit at a time. Self-directed thought, desensitization exercises, they go a long way to helping you with that.